This week on the Rosie Rose Podcast, I'm sitting down with someone who knows how to turn everyday moment into magic, not just on stage, but in life. Zari Marielle is a founder of Present Company Improv in Arcata, California, with over a decade of experience in the improv world. From France to San Francisco to Canada to all over the world. But now she is back home in Humboldt. She's helping people build confidence, creativity, and community through the art of spontaneous storytelling. Before improv, Zara spent years teaching English as a second language, and it was improv that helped her find her voice both in and out of classroom. She's passionate about creating spaces where people can take risks, play, and come back to themselves. And here's something exciting. Zara is also a soon to be published fantasy author. Her debut novel comes out next April with Union Square. Whether you're curious about improv, storytelling, creativity, or building something meaningful in your community, this episode is a gem. Welcome, Zara.
Hi, Rosie. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for, doing this too, coming on. So I found Zara through on the internet. So I just met Zara like maybe like 5 weeks ago.
That sounds so sketchy. You found me on the internet.
I know. So me and my friend, we wanted to do a improv class, I think last year, me and Sarah. And we were looking for an improv class and we couldn't find anything. And then just recently I went through Google as like improv class in Humboldt County, and then you popped up. And then I realized I was like, oh, she has a 5 week class coming up soon. So I knew that was a chance. So I was like, text my friend Sarah. I was like, hey, you want to do this? She's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so here we are now. I took in Zara's improv class, and wow, it's talking about being vulnerable on social media. This is like being vulnerable in person. And
Yeah.
so what first drew you to in the doing improv?
Sure. So I always loved theater, and when I was like a little kid, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna be a Broadway star one day. I cannot dance, by the way, so that never happened. But I was also super, super shy, like really shy, to the point that like I would go to auditions for like school, play or whatever and I would like clam up during the audition, and then the teacher would very nicely like take me aside and be like, "Wouldn't you be happier painting the set?" And so like I was like, like I have all this creativity that I want to express, but like I can't seem to express it because just like the social aspect of interacting with people was really challenging for me. Um, so then like I sort of did some drama in college, but I wasn't a drama major, and in my university, in my undergrad, like drama was very much like the program catered to the drama majors, and if you weren't a major, you weren't really like in the in crowd. I was a drama minor. So it like kind of felt elitist, and I couldn't quite make it in. I was still really shy. Um, so then, after I graduated from my university, which was in Canada, I moved to San Francisco. And at that point, I didn't really know anyone in the city. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try something theater related again. Maybe it'll help me meet people and stuff. And I was like, I still want to do theater, but I want something low commitment. I don't want to like have to go to rehearsal every day, blah, blah, blah. So I just like looked online and I found this musical improv class, and I became obsessed. And it's so funny that I was like, oh, I want something low commitment because I think pretty soon I was doing improv like 5 days a week. And I was on like three or four different troupes at the same time, and we would have shows every weekend. And I just really fell in love with it because not only was it fun and silly and liberating, it also there's so many life skills that are incorporated with improv that just like yeah, I just benefited from all of that, and I'm one of those people who thinks that every single person is creative. If you tell me you're not creative, I will fight you about it because you are. Everyone is. Some people just aren't inclined to like explore that part of themselves, maybe because they feel some sort of internalized shame or they're embarrassed or something. But I believe everyone's creative, and I honestly believe that even if improv sounds scary to some people, like anyone can do it, and it's just like it opens your life in so many ways. So I'm a total improv evangelist.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me like a experience about you first doing improv because when I first did improv with you, there was a part of me like after I like perform or did something, like part of me was like, ooh, like that was like like, like
I
how
think
did you overcome like, like in the beginning of improv of just being who you are?
Sure. I think that one thing that I love about improv is that it kind of unites quirky people. Like it attracts people who are already like, I don't know, maybe we're a bit sillier, we think differently. I think a lot of the improv community is probably neurodivergent, and I say that in a way that's like, it's great. Um, and like improv is a way to like celebrate those quirky, weird aspects of yourself that you might not necessarily be comfortable with at first, because even when you're playing a character, you're filtering it through the lens of yourself, right? So everything you say and do on stage is something that spontaneously came out of you. And it's empowering because everyone who's playing with you is encouraged to accept those offers that you have made, and they're presented as gifts, right? So if I say something totally stupid and in my head I'm like, oh my God, that was the dumbest thing I could have said. I can't believe I said that on stage in front of other people. It is my scene partner's responsibility to take what I said and make it brilliant because improv is all about supporting your scene partners. Um, I think anyone who's heard about improv knows that the very basic principle is that phrase, yes, and, which means yes is like accepting any idea that comes your way, and then the and is building on that idea. So, literally, the stupidest thing I say in the world, whoever's on stage with me, their responsibility is to make that thing sound amazing and intelligent and build off of it. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just really liberating. Like, you cannot be wrong, there are no mistakes.
And what I love about your class too is that you make everyone, especially like the new people, like feel I don't know, you make us feel like okay, it's easy, it's going because you jump right in I'm doing a exercise there. I jump in like I'm done telling my story, but I'm waiting for somebody to tap me out and you come in like you know the perfect time to come in and uh and jump in. And also what I love too is that from classes that I've been to, you celebrate like when we make mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
love
like
that.
I
So
said, there's no mistakes in improv. Like everything is a gift. So,
yeah,
yeah.
can you tell us more about that? How the making a mistake is a celebration.
Yeah, like I could give you an example. Say we're in a scene together and I wanted to give your character a name. I wanted to call you, I don't know, Rosalinda. But then my mouth for some reason just like I stumble on my words and I'm like Rosalala. And then I'm like, oh my God, that's not even a real name. But everyone who's in the scene with me is gonna go with that. And we're gonna be like, her name is Rosalala now. And like that's just like the silly thing that came out of me messing up, and now it's like a funny, silly joke that we're playing with. You know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
the most basic example that I can think of. But yeah.
I love that. I love that. And also what I love too is that with public speaking, like you are a great speaker. I
Ooh.
don't see any like and like and I know that improv helps with public speaking.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, thank you for saying that. Definitely wasn't always the case. And I definitely still like get caught up in my own thought loops where I'm like, oh, I just said the same point like four times. But yeah, I think like I said, improv is a it has so many life skills that are transferable. And like since I've been doing improv, I think roughly 12 years, maybe 13. I need to check that specifically. I've become better at interviews. I've become better at like, yeah, speaking in front of other people. It's just, yeah, there's so many benefits. So, and what you said earlier about, which I appreciate, about you saying my class felt very like welcoming, I feel like that is an environment that I work really hard to create because I know how scary it is when you've never done improv before. Like you're like, "Oh my God, you're asking me to like stand in front of a bunch of people and like I don't know, pretend I'm a goat? Like how
Yeah.
unserious? Like how could I possibly do that without feeling this internal shame?" And like the environment that I'm striving to create, which I'm modeling after other classes that I took when I was brand new, is like we want everyone to feel welcome and comfortable, and we want to know that like the teacher is gonna mess up too. Like everyone's gonna mess up, and that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, and when you talk about the internal shame, like how is so if somebody is like new coming in and wanting to do improv, but they
Mhm.
have like that internal shame, like how do you work with them with that?
It's hard, but I just want to encourage them to keep coming back. And I think just trying to make them feel comfortable and like what you probably remember this from my class, but we do a lot of like short scenes, like 3-line scenes. And after every scene, I encourage everyone to shout, "Best scene ever!" And like it doesn't matter whether it wasn't the best scene you've ever seen in your entire life or not. Like just having that little ritual is fun, and it makes everyone feel good. It's fun for the participants, it's fun for the people who are in the scene, and it's encouraging, right? So like I can't control what goes on in my student's brain, but I can create an environment that's welcoming and do my best to try and take some of that shame away just through my own actions and like by making sure that everyone in the class is welcoming. Like I have a form that everyone has to sign. I'm sure you remember. That's just, it's not, it hasn't been notarized. It's not like it wasn't written up by a lawyer, but it's just like, hey, if you're going to be in this class, everyone has to feel welcome. You can't be mean to people, no discrimination based on any of the isms, anything like that. It's basically just an agreement that we're all going to be kind to each other before we enter into the space where we're going to create together.
Yeah, and I love that it is welcoming because I think the first day that I went to your improv class, I was super excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like it was so exciting. And then the second week, I'm like, oh my gosh, honestly, I was like kind of dreading because I was like, oh, it's challenging, It's challenging.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary. But then I was like, I do hard things, so like I showed up anyways.
Yes,
And
I
I'm
love
glad that I showed up anyways because the icebreaker that you have us do, like the exercise there,
it.
it does like open me loose a little bit. Like, oh, okay, I am safe, and there's like I'll make it.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people think like, oh, in order to be a good improviser, you have to be really, really clever and quick, and like you have to have all these like great comebacks like lined up in your brain, ready to fire. And like that's so not what it's about. It's just all about like saying yes to your impulses and like being loose in your body and loose in your mind and like ready for anything that comes your way. But like we don't pre-plan anything, right? It's kind of like when you're really immersed in a long form improv scene. And I should probably explain the difference between long form and short form, but we'll get back to that. Um, it's kind of like you're in a flow state. If you're really immersed in it, like you're not making intellectual decisions. Your brain is kind of doing the work without you, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's not about overthinking. It's just about like creating the conditions to like let yourself react without that barrier of censorship. Like that layer of you that's judging you, the internal voice that's saying that's a bad idea. Like we're trying to like eradicate that and just be ourselves instead, even when we're playing a character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I did a lot of work before, but going into your class, like when I'm doing the scenes, like I feel like I'm just in my body, like, oh, I'm in this character. I'm I'm doing this. I don't know if it's good or bad, but
That's what we want. That's perfect.
yeah.
You're doing it right.
Yeah, and thank you so much for just creating that space. Um, it's definitely fun and challenging. And I know that you go because sometimes when you do like the exercise where the storytelling, when you're doing it with two people, um, you always talk about be relatable, like tell story, like be relatable and tell stories. And when you were telling us that, like I got it in my mind, but then I did a scene with you and it was like about the library or something.
Oh yeah.
And I totally forgot like to be like relatable, you know? And so I wasn't really relatable for me in my mind. And I kind of like, took me like the whole night to like I, my mind was like, Rosie, you don't listen. You're supposed to be relatable. Tell a story. And I was like kind of beating myself up that evening of a mistake,
Uh-huh.
But it's like that is a process of learning. Like I won't
Absolutely.
learn unless I'm in that situation. And then it's like, okay, next time I have to be more relatable, like storytelling with my partner.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily like relatable. Like yes and no. Relatable, sure, but more like we want the two characters to relate to each other because what's great about long form improv is that you are seeing two characters interact. And
Mm.
I guess that's relatable, right? We've interacted with different people in our lives and every interaction is different, but the point is to I think when you care about the other person in the scene, that's what makes it a richer scene. You
Mm.
know, like you want to see people who are invested in the conversation they're having, and invested in how they feel about each other, regardless of what those emotions are. But on the other hand, I also want to address what you just said by saying that everyone goes through scenes, especially when they're a beginner, where they're like, oh, it was awful. I'm so embarrassed. I did such a bad job. Literally, nobody cares. Nobody remembers that scene the way you remember that scene because you're in that scene, right? The audience is probably just thinking about like, what's it going to be like when it's my turn? They're like not even that focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
I say the audience like in the class, right? In a show, they're also not going to be fixated on like that person messed up. They just want to be entertained. So I wouldn't, yeah, don't worry about overthinking it, but also it's so normal.
Yeah, yeah. I had to remind myself like nobody cares. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. And really, they don't care. But I,
Totally.
I love that though. But just um to show up and do improv, there's just a part of you that like you like for me it's like discovering who I am again. Like, ooh,
Totally.
there's this part of Rosie that I have no idea, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite things is when like new people take my class and they've never done improv before and they're a little bit scared and I get to watch them like fall in love with this new silly art form. It's like the best thing because I'm like, I remember when I was falling in love with improv. You know what I mean?
Aw. Yeah. And so like what are you sorry. Okay.
There
So
are no mistakes, okay?
yeah, there is
This
no
is
mistake.
your podcast.
Same here, yes. So,
Feel free to steal all my improv principles for your own work.
so has improv ever helped you process something heavy, like grief or fear, or like a tough chapter in your life?
Um, I think kind of the opposite in that it helps me by being a distraction, which I mean, I do want to say that not all improv is comedy. I think a lot of people think the word improv and instantly relate it to comedy, but there's dramatic improv too, and it's perfectly valid. The only thing I would say is if you're going to put on a dramatic improv show, make sure your audience is aware of what they're getting into because, like, you know, false expectations are always going to create people who are upset and like, oh, I thought it was going to be this, but actually it's that. But people do use improv in therapy. They use it in trainings for all different industries. Like, I recently read an article about like police officers were taking improv classes in order to like to be better at listening when they're like taking down reports or whatever. Obviously don't know anything about police work. Um, Doctors sometimes can take improv classes in order to have better bedside manner and like be better at listening to their patients. And so it's like super versatile. I realize that didn't exactly answer the question that you asked, but yeah, when I'm
No.
going through something hard, improv is a wonderful way for me to inhabit a different reality for a little while so I don't have to think about that thing because when you're grieving, like that's kind of all encompassing, right? Like you're in it every second of the day, except maybe when you're sleeping. Um, and it's really nice to have an escape from that. So I think creating in any form can be really good for escaping your current predicament, but for me, improv, like it's a great way for me to just be like, I'm gonna inhabit this other silly reality for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And you talked about how improv helps you be a better listener. Like
Mhm.
I'm working on that every part of me. So because even doing podcasting, you have to be a good listener. And to me, I'm still learning to be a good listener. And
Totally.
what is it about improv that helps you be a good listener?
So, I try and train my students to really pay attention to everything their scene partner is saying. I think it's pretty common for beginners to just be like, I have a brilliant idea, blah, 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 blah. And then the other person in the scene is like, I didn't even get to say anything. And now I don't get to make any choices because the other person has made all the choices for me. So that's something I try and train out of people because, like, as awesome and liberating as it is to be able to say whatever you want and have that be the reality of the scene, you're building the scene together. It's not a monologue. There are monologues, and that's different. But what I'm talking about is a two-person scene, minimum two people. I had a teacher who said, like, bring a brick, not the cathedral, right? You're not creating the story all at once. It's not like when I write novels, I'm not like, "Brr, bam, completed novel. Here, have that." No, it takes forever, and I'm building things one small detail by one small detail. And that's what it's like in improv, but it's a two-person process at minimum, right? So I might bring in a detail about the scene, like, oh, maybe it's the location. Here we are in a garden. And then, and I'm so happy to be here with you, my favorite sister. So now we know that we're in a garden and we're sisters. And like, I'm going to bring in another piece of information, and they're going to bring in another piece of information. And soon we're going to have this giant, rich reality. And we created that together. And you can't do that if you're not listening to what the other person is saying.
Yeah. And it's funny because once I did improv, it's like I could see my habits in class.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, is it a good habit or a bad habit? I'm not listening. Like I'm off in la la land. And it really doing improv really helps you see like your own habits that you need to work on.
Totally. And that's also why I tell people not to like plan what they're going to say in their heads before they get into the scene. Because if they're sitting there planning what they're going to do, first of all, it's not spontaneous, and improv is all about being spontaneous. And second of all, it means they're not listening to what's happening in the scene and how you're going to be part of it and add to it if you don't know what has already been established. So, in the context of just making a fun scene, like that's one thing, but you're right, this stuff totally bleeds into your everyday life as well. And like, of course, we all want to be better listeners in our regular lives because that's how we relate to people. And humans are social animals. We're not here to just be like solitary on Earth. We're here to relate to each other. And improv helps us do that.
Wow. So what's scarier? Standing on stage without a script or publishing a novel?
Publishing a novel is so much. So, improv and writing are my two biggest creative outlets, and I consider improv like the low stakes one because I'm like that's just me spewing all my nonsense and being silly. Whereas like writing, well, first of all, the audience is going to be a lot bigger because, my book should be in like, it'll be in Barnes and Nobles and your local bookshop or whatever. The distribution will be pretty good, and that means so many more eyes are going to be on it. And people are critical of books. You know what I mean? Like, people don't just say, like, oh, everything was excellent, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. Like, yeah, it's the stakes are so much higher for me. Bigger audience, like also I've had time to go back and edit things. In improv, I say it, it comes out of my mouth and that's it. That's the reality. But with writing, people aren't going to be reading my first draft. I've been through drafts and drafts and drafts and feedback, and my editor has put in some feedback, and my agent has put in some feedback, and all this stuff. And so, if they still don't like what I've come up with after all those different steps, like that's terrifying to me. So, yeah, fingers crossed that it's well received because that's so scary to me.
And how long have you been working on this novel?
So I wrote a couple of novels, but this is the first one that's actually getting published. It's called The Café of Infinite Doors. It is a contemporary fantasy, so takes place in our world, but fantastical elements and magic, and also partially in ancient Scotland. Fun fact, I did my master's in Edinburgh, so super into Scottish culture. Um, but I started writing this one during the pandemic. Yeah, it was 2020. And it's crazy how long it takes, like not just like writing out a first draft, but then getting all the feedback. And I have a really great critique group that we give each other feedback, and like finding an agent took forever because like anyone who looks into that, like hardest process ever. And then after you get an agent, finding an editor takes forever. So that's why it's been so many years. So it'll be 6 years when it comes out from the moment that I started writing it.
Wow. So you put a lot of sweat and tears into writing this novel.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying like improv for me is like the low stakes because it's finished in an instant. It's like the art form that like it came out of your body and it exploded and now it's there and it's never going to happen again. It was a one-time thing. It was magical and now it's done. But writing is like the longest game ever. It's such a marathon.
Yeah. And so what does like your writing process look like? Do you like set a time, like an hour to like write, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, I try and I reserve some time in the afternoons. And I starting is the hardest part. Like getting into the mindset is so hard, which is another thing I love about improv is like you don't have time to like deliberate. You're there, you gotta go, right? But with writing, oh my God, do I procrastinate so much. Like, um, so yeah, I need to like turn off the internet, honestly. Otherwise, I'm like, it's really hard to get into that creative mode with this giant distraction in front of me. One thing that helps is I have, like I said, I have some great critique partners and we'll do like writing sprints. So we'll be like, okay, we're starting the timer. By the time this thing rings, my goal is to get, I don't know, 500 words. And maybe she's like, my goal is to finish the scene. And then we turn it on, we shut up and we like go. And like I feel like having that little element of pressure makes it easier to like get started. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So I love that you are working with another person. So you guys like meet on Zoom or something and then
Yeah, or sometimes just like, via text, like, okay, we're starting now, one, two, three, go, or whatever. And she's working on her own thing. It's
yeah.
nothing to do with what I'm working on, but we're like helping each other stay motivated. Yeah.
Oh, I love that because I also have a friend that we make content. She does her own content. I do. We're working on something different, but together
Yeah.
like that. And it just
Yeah.
gives you like a accountability.
Totally. It's so
No, like
motivating.
yeah, like
Yeah.
okay, we have an hour. Like, hey, get what you needed done, and then we'll come back and connect and talk to see like, did you get it done or like
Yeah,
what
yeah. Did you
happened?
do what you said you were gonna do? Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. Because another difference between improv and writing is improv is so communal. You're interacting with other people. It's very social. But writing is super solitary and you're just in your own brain puzzling out these like plot issues that you've created for yourself. You're like untangling this very, very knotted web, right? And it just makes it a little bit easier when you know there's someone else who's also doing that. It's also in their own head. It's a whole separate thing, but you can relate to each other, and that makes it a little easier.
It really does. Wow. Wow. So, so when you moved back to Humboldt County
Mhm.
to start Present Company,
Yeah,
um, what made you like how did you like what brought you to start this company in Humboldt?
sure. Selfish reasons. So I have found that as an adult, most of the friends that I've made, these are friends that I didn't know when I was a child or in college, like friends I've made as an adult, most of these are people that I met doing improv. And generally speaking, I think improv attracts the kind of people that I really gel with, like people who are just like, you know, true to who they are, and like unself-conscious and just like they are who they are and they celebrate that and like improv encourages that. So when I moved back up here 3 years ago, I hadn't lived here since I left when I was 18 after I graduated high school at Arcata High. So I was like, I don't know anybody. I think I have one pair of friends who are married to each other and have been together since they were 16. But I was like, how am I going to make friends if I don't have improv? So that was one thing. Super selfish motivations. I was like, I need to make friends. I need to gather people who are like-minded and silly like I am. And then secondly, like I need improv in my life for my own mental health, right? Like it keeps things light and it's fun and it's silly and it's distracting and like the world is kind of fucked, let's not lie. So like having this like carefree environment at least once a week is just really amazing. So I wanted that for myself and I wanted that for other people. And like improv is such like a joyous, wonderful thing. I want to share it with as many people as possible. So, I was like, oh, there isn't really much improv in Humboldt County. Like I want to bring that to people and I want people to fall in love with it. And I'm really, really proud that that's worked so far. Like, because in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew what I was doing in terms of improv, and I've taught before because I used to teach English, but was like, I have to run a business now. Like, what do I know? And luckily, when you're doing something that you really care about, and if you're projecting the right kind of energy, it will attract the people that it needs to attract. And so, thankfully, it's been going well. And I feel like it ebbs and flows. Right now it's the summertime. I'm going to be taking a little break because I'm traveling, and a lot of people are traveling. So I feel like every year around this time, I'm like, oh no, my community is falling apart. But I just need to trust that like after the summer, people will come back and new people will come. And even if some regulars like start getting other interests, like new people will come and replace them. Like, so yeah, having your own creative company is really anxiety producing, but worth it, and you just have to like trust that things are going to be okay, even though I am definitely someone who overthinks things, which is ironic considering I do improv. But yeah, in real life, I overthink a lot.
Well, you know what? You attracted me and Sarah into improv class, and I'm still blown away about just being in the improv, like your community. It's it's um it's good. It's like because when I went to your class like the second time when I'm like, oh, I don't know, like I don't want to go, and it's like a workout. It's like
Yeah,
after the workout, do you regret it? No, not at all. I'm glad that I did it.
totally. Yeah, in the
Yeah.
moment it feels hard, but then afterwards, like that was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't tell you because my class is usually on Monday nights, right? I can't tell you the amount of Monday nights where I'm like, I am tired. I do not want to go teach improv right now. I'm not in the mood. I just want to like be huddled up under my heated blanket and read a book and drink some tea. I want to be an introvert right now. And every time my husband's like, yeah, you're gonna have so much fun. Like you say this every time. And he's totally right because I'll go to my class instantly forget that I was feeling that way and have the best time ever and everyone's laughing and it's just so silly and fun. And then I come home on a high and I'm like, "Oh my God, guess what we did? And there was this really funny scene and then this happened and this person said this and it was so funny." And he's like rolling his eyes like, "Yeah, I told you."
Yeah, that's so that's so true.
Yeah, you
Okay.
just have to do it, like
Yeah.
even if you're not in the mood and then once you're there, it really helps.
Yeah, and also it's like the comfort, right? Like the comfort of you staying the same. And
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it improv,
totally.
it's like it's I want to say like this, it's a little bit uncomfortable just because you like for me, I have to bring the energy when
Hmm.
I go to improv. Like because if I'm just like, like kind of boring.
Yeah, yeah. You're
Yeah.
telling me I'm the teacher. If I don't have energy,
Yeah.
that sets the tone for the whole class. So it can be like the first 5 minutes or so can be really hard sometimes when you come in on a Monday night and you can sense that everyone's kind of like, okay, I dragged my ass here and I made it. And I'm like, I gotta be responsible for motivating everyone. But usually after like 5 minutes of warm-ups, even less than that, like after like 2 minutes of warm-ups, like people are up there with me, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Just doing the warm up, like our energy is like we're moving now. Our energy is moving. So it changes.
Totally.
So I love that. So what advice would you give someone who says, I can never do improv or I'm not funny enough?
They're wrong. I'd be like, no, that's not true. Anyone can do improv. And I would also say, don't worry about being funny. I'm literally never worried about being funny. And like, also funny is subjective. So like, don't rip yourself up over something that like people disagree about fundamentally anyways. The joy of improv and what's funny about improv is the spontaneity. So as long as you're being spontaneous, it will be funny because like we're laughing at the fact that you had no idea what was going to come out of your mouth and then something came out of your mouth and that's hilarious. Like I think I know a lot of people in real life who are like very witty in conversation, but they kind of get in their head in improv because they have this idea that they have to be a certain way and that they have to produce a certain kind of response and like be smart. And you don't have to be anything. You just have to be yourself. And like everyone is funny. It's just we all have our own different brands of humor, and that will come out as long as we're being true to ourselves.
Yeah. So why do you think like a lot of people are scared of like improv and like public speaking?
Ah, that's a really good question. I mean, like I said, I'm still shy. I say like, I used to be terribly shy. I'm still shy, but I can make myself not be now. Especially like in a friendly context where I feel comfortable, like I can overcome that. But I couldn't tell you where shyness comes from. I think like some of us are just born with it and it's just something that we have to overcome because this world is made for extroverts, right? Like this world is not an introvert friendly space. And even though there are some introvert friendly spaces within our world, that's not the majority of society. And so I think and you know what? Now that I think of it, I even know some people who are very extroverted, but they still get really nervous speaking in front of a crowd. See, if this was an improv scene, we then would have had a whole thing about speaking in front of clouds. Like that would,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
celebrate mistakes, is what I'm trying to tell you. But the answer is I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I also find it nerve-wracking to stand up in front of people and say stuff, but I do it because I know it's going to be challenging and rewarding. And once I'm in it, it gets easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Because my thing of improv was learning to be a better public speaker.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
I think a couple years ago, I did Savage Henry had like a comedy workshop class.
totally.
And I took I think 3 classes and they're like, "Oh, you're ready for open mic." And I was like, "Really?"
I
Yeah,
am.
I was like, "Oh man, okay." So, um I did the 3 weeks of the workshop
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, you're ready." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do this." So that summer a couple years ago, I finally got the balls. I don't have balls, but I finally got the courage to go to an open mic. And I got there at like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
I signed up. I didn't go on stage until like 11 p.m.
Oh my
and it
God,
was
I
my
would be
bedtime
asleep by
already.
then.
Yes, I was like, so like waiting for those 2 hours for my turn was like my energy was low, and I didn't go with anyone because I was like, like my husband, I was like, no, you stay home, I'll go by myself, and I just
You
went by
need to see
myself.
this.
Yeah, and I went and I bombed,
Yeah.
and it took me
Yeah.
like 2 months to kind of get over it. But then now
Mm,
I look back at it, I'm like, dude, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because when I look back at it now, I'm like, damn, I got I have the courage to go up there
yes.
and speak in front of people and do my skit. And even though it didn't go well,
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, and like I feel like literally any speaker, any motivational speaker who talks about like being creative, like failure is so important. You need to be able to fail before you can thrive, right? Like I'm thinking about writing right now, like how many rejections did I get before I finally got an agent? So many. Like you have to fail and fail and fail before you make it, right? And I think that's the mark of somebody who can eventually be successful is your persistence, right? Like um so I think that's so important. And I think also in improv, one thing I try and encourage my students to do is to be okay with losing because think about your conversations you've had in your real life, especially like if they were kind of argumentative or like you're talking to someone you don't see eye to eye with. I think it's very natural for humans to want to win the interaction. So you're thinking they're like, I'm going to get them to change their mind. Like, I have my own agenda and I will not lose. But in improv, you're playing a character. So I know people who will go into an improv scene and their character has to be the high status character and their character has to win. And they can't get outsmarted, they can't get tricked. And it can be exhausting to play with these people. And like, so I tell them, like, lose. Like, just be a character who loses and have fun with that. Explore what that would feel like. And like, it doesn't mean that you as a person are a loser. You're just playing a character. And I think it's really humbling. And I think a lot of people, they think it says something negative about themselves if they play a character that's losing an interaction. But I don't see it that way. I see it as them being willing to be humble and willing to like take that gift of being the loser character, quote unquote, and having fun with that. And like that's so much more fun to watch for me than being like the aggressive person who won't back down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's and it shows a lot too. Like when you're playing those characters of like for me it's like if I keep up with trying to win, a part of me be like, it's too much energy.
Yeah, I know, right? Just relent sometimes. And I'm not saying in real life you should just like give up all the time, but like in an improv scene, like explore what that would be like. It's okay. It doesn't mean anything about you specifically as a person. We know that. We know you're a character.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you can go back and tell your younger self one message, what would it be?
Oh my God. I would tell little 5-year-old Zara or whatever, I would say take an improv class now. Like, I always say that I started, like, I wish I'd started so much earlier because, like, I was still shy in undergrad and, like, and after undergrad, when I moved to San Francisco, I was still pretty damn shy. And it wasn't until I started doing improv that I started to just have the confidence to just like be myself and say yes and to myself and just be who I am and not worry about what people are gonna think. And like obviously you attract cool people when you're being true to yourself, right? You attract people who are like-minded because you can't play a character in real life and expect other people to see you as a genuine person. Like I'm attracted to people who are genuine and who are real, and I think that's probably true for a lot of people. So, yeah, just like say yes to yourself, you know?
Oh, say yes to yourself. Oh, I said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for just uh setting up the present improv class because I
Yeah, yeah,
said yes to
Present Company
myself,
Improv.
and
Check
here
it
I
out,
am with you. Now here I am with you doing this podcast.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. I'm really glad that you invited me on this because
Yeah.
I also like I know you from the context of my class really briefly, but it's fun to talk to you in a longer form.
Yeah, yeah, and I am now I'm getting to know you a little bit more. So, if you could leave one piece of wisdom for someone afraid to follow their curiosity, what would
Mm.
that be?
This is not like my own personal quote. I'm totally stealing this. It's around, and you said a variation of this earlier, but I think follow the fear. Yeah, follow the fear. Do the thing that scares you and do it. Don't be afraid to fail at it. Like suck loudly.
Yes.
Suck loudly and you'll have so much fun. Yeah,
Oh,
I think that's
I
my
love
advice.
that. That's why I always say, go fuck it up and just go fuck it up. Go fuck it
Yeah, totally, totally. You can fix it later, but you'll be happy you tried. Just like what you said about the stand-up class that you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, where can people find you?
Sure. So if you live in Humboldt and you want to take my improv class, you can look up presentcompanyimprov.com. And if you're interested in my book, freaking out about that, which comes out next April, so we still got a while to go. My writing website is zaramarielle.com. So ZARAMARIELLE.com.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining me to this um my podcast here. And
Ah,
I'm so excited for people to know who you are and to join the improv class. If you're in
yeah.
Humboldt County, you gotta come because I'm coming back to your class
Oh,
whenever
you
whenever
better.
it's gonna be happening. I'm coming back because I want to get better at storytelling. I want to get better at listening. I want to get better at public speaking. Like I just want to be a better communicator all around. And
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you are looking to be a better communicator, like try improv class. And I'm
Yeah, no
so lucky.
experience necessary. Like you don't have to have ever done any form of performance in your life. We accept everyone.
Yes, like for me as a new, I'm not a performer at all, but it was a little scary at first, but the exercise, how you are welcoming in the class. Like it's like an icebreaker. You break loose and you kind of just, I don't know. It was easy to just jump in and and not act, but just like the improv, like do the scene. So it
Oh,
was really
totally.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's related to acting, yeah, for sure. I do also want to say that like if you're a person who wants to try it out but does not want to be on stage, like that's fine too. Like we have people who come and they enjoy playing and rehearsing, but they don't want to do any shows, and that's also allowed. Like obviously you'll be in front of people, the other people in the class, but if you don't have aspirations of being on a stage and doing like a full long form show, like you don't have to, that's optional.
Yeah. Yeah. So come check us out. I mean, I'll be there. One of the classes there, but yeah, check out Zara's present improv.
Present Company Improv.
Yeah, Present Company Improv. See, I gotta listen more.
But it's okay to fail, Rosie. It's okay.
Yes, and that's what I love too. It's okay to fail, and we celebrate mistakes, and I
Totally.
love that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Zara, and whew, let's go.
Thanks, Rosie. Have a good
You
one.
too. Bye.
Bye.